Okay. This is group 7, b321, and this is our Thursday night meeting, and we are discussing the Army crew team case analysis, and so this is a quick synopsis of the case. The coach of the Army crew team of the United States Military Academy at West Point faced a dilemma about how to foster team performance. At the start of the crew season, he had used objective data on individual performance to select his top 8 rowers for the varsity crew and the second tier of 8 rowers for the junior varsity crew. When the two crews raced one another at practice, however, the JV crew beat the varsity crew about 2/3 of the time. The case follows the coach's attempts to determine the cases of these apparent results. By the end of the season, the varsity crew was still mired in a downward spiral with only 1 week to go before the season-ending nationals race. The coach must decide which action to take to help the varsity crew's members pull together to reach their potential as a team. So, what are the case facts? What is the issue? So, what are the issues in this case, guys? What did you come up with the issues? Anybody want to talk first?
You've got a team that's underperforming, right, in a varsity crew, and that hasn't learned how to operate as a team together, which is impacting the group performance.
Yeah, perfect. Did anybody else have anything else?
Yeah, who's he going to send as the senior varsity? Since they only have 1 week, and it's going to be very difficult to develop teamwork within just 4 days of competition.
Yeah, that's true. Does anybody else have any other problems?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like the team, when they had that meeting, they were, you know, pointing fingers at each other and things like that. So it looks like they're pretty, you know, not together as a team. And some of them think that they're more important than the other people. So that's what I kind of got out of that. Like the one guy saying, I'm, you know, I've been carrying the boat all, you know, all by myself, and you know, et cetera, and another guy speaking up, you know, wait a minute, you know, I'm doing the same thing, blah, 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 you know. But I think...
Go ahead, Mark. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I'm just reading over what I wrote. They already graded it, too, so...
Yep. I said that you basically have the better athletes that perform, you know, worse than the lesser athletes. That the varsity crew has disruptors, which cause strife, which is what you said, and that crew doesn't work as a team. That even though they're superior athletes, that they don't work as well. And then that the coach doesn't have any time. He has just a very small amount of time to be able to solve the issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So why is it important? Why is it important that they work as a team? Why is it important?
It's part of the sport. I mean, they go into details of how, yeah, you have to have the abilities and the skills and the strength, but in order for you to row faster, you have to be synchronized with your team members. And if that's not happening, if they're not able to sense that amongst the entire team, then it's just not going to work, and they're not going to, as a whole, they won't be able to perform. Yeah.
Anybody else?
I agree with Angie. Well, what you mentioned. Also, too, it's part of the study that they've done ever since the sport was created, and they lined up the elements of in order to succeed in that sport, and that's part of it. And how it mentioned that the height of your row or the timing. If you don't have if you're not synchronized with the other teammates, it's going to tip over your boat or lose the balance or slow down your boat. So it's essential to have the teamwork built up early on.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about this is that it was really funny that the varsity team did not go and get the training that they needed, and the junior varsity team did. And that's why they were able to be successful. Like they had let's see, I was just going to open this right here. Okay, so they had the CEP Academy sports psychologists that came and worked with the junior varsity team, and that helped their training because it was giving them systematic application of specific mental skills necessary to improve and employ a series of training techniques designed to utilize and also that the core values that they had as a team, they were able to do that, but it just seems like the varsity team is not able to work together. Okay, so the next question is, what are the specific behaviors, actions, and results that raise concern? And we might have already gone over that. I think we have. They don't really have any unity and identity as a team. They were working individually and not. And actually, even I think another thing that was wrong was that they were training specifically individually instead of training as a team. So
yeah, they have an individual mentality rather than a team mentality, and that causes them. Sorry, it causes them not to be able to excel. It causes lesser teams to be able to excel. And if we talk about this in a business context, that means that people with less skill, if they're working together, have much greater ability than a team of superstars that doesn't work together.
Okay, so does Coach P have the right measures in place, or what are we going to be able to? What kind of measures does he need to take?
I think he needs to get rid of the two disruptors.
Right.
Okay.
Replace them with the two leaders that he put in the junior varsity, because they were the ones that was driving the junior varsity team. Because those junior varsities were following those two leaders that he placed there, and those were one of the key elements. And if you look at the diagram or the last section of the case study, he had outlined where the team's gonna go, and there's a section there where the leader and there's somebody else that's doing the rhythm and whatnot. Those are the two key people that he needed to make the senior varsity a success, but he put them on a different team.
Yeah, I think that's a really great suggestion. Does everybody else agree with that?
I do.
Okay, I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're going to change up their teams. What other things do you think that they should do once they get those teams in place and together? What should they do? What would you do? They just have 1 week to go.
Yeah, what I recommended was, you know, at this point in time, if the coach were to demote the varsity rowers to the JV team and promote the JV team to the varsity boat, that the you know, the players are going to feel humiliated by in the competition, I think. So he wants to, you know, he may have to you know, not do that, but between Tuesday and Friday before the event, he's going to need to somehow work with the team on their individual strength and endurance and their teamwork. You know, it's just like when you think of a race car engine, you got the pistons in synchronization. If they're not in sync, your engine's not going to move. And the same thing with your boat. If your left side's not in sync with the right side, and you're just defeating the purpose of being able to glide through the water.
Okay, so one thing that I noticed was that they had
Hello?
their training was like more individual, and they don't need to be an individual. They need to be in sync, because that's going to.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on a call right now.
That's going to be what makes them be more successful, is being in sync with each other, like kind of feeling each other's moves, and if one person
Sorry,
gets
I'm
out of
in a
stroke,
video conference right now.
kind of let
Can I
it go.
call you back
They
in a little bit?
They know that the other person's going to get back in sync and catch up.
Hello?
I noticed that was in there. Okay, so what?
Sorry, can't hear you.
Really quick. The ones we've talked about. What would be our final strategy for this?
I'm just gonna jump in really quick. Sorry.
I'll call you back.
I was thinking I personally wouldn't move anyone or mix the teams, just because everybody's so bitter and angry at each other right now that if you were to mix almost the good with the bad, it's going to taint both. And when I was going over it, it kind of reminded me, I don't know if you guys have seen or remember the movie Remember the Titans, where they had the two football teams that they had to put together that were down in the South, and you had the white and the black team, and they had to like integrate them together to make sure that they could play well together. And I was thinking about it, and I thought that maybe a really good strategy is to give the team their own responsibility of, listen, your actions are inappropriate, your attitude is inappropriate, and so you now have to make the decision and the choice if you're going to compete as a team next week or if you're not. And then at that point, if they chose to go ahead and do it, okay, then they made that choice. If they didn't, then I would give the JV team the choice to say, okay, varsity's not going to compete. Do you want to take the seat as a varsity team and compete against other varsities, or go ahead and continue to compete against the other JV team? Making it so that the coach, I don't want to say can't be blamed for what happens, but because they've caused the problem themselves, they need to rectify it themselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so basically, Sam was right. Sam and I think David were right about. I think that he was right about making a change with the teams. They have to take those two players, the two that are on junior varsity, and put them up to varsity, and that will help rectify the situation and help them have a better performance. And so that's what they suggest to do. So either it could be no change or hope for the best, which actually right now the junior varsity team is winning. So hopefully if they change those players up, then their performance will get better because they'll take the two disruptors off the team. Okay, so what are some other implications about other teams that we work with in every, like maybe our ward family teams that we work with, and gospel links, personal experiences, a broad application of principles. So are there any teams that you guys work on or team experiences that you can talk about how this applies to other teams?
You know, I can. So I used to work for a company where we had a guy who would always blow everything up, and he would go to each of the team members, each of the people on our team, and he would talk about it. And he would try to make things really big, we called him Mr. Drama, because he would always try to stir the pot on everything, and he would always blow things up. It was always very well thought out, and he was always very well spoken. But if you basically didn't do anything, the situation would smooth over, and it would be all right. But he would always try to do that, and it was interesting that when he left because of drama, and everything got smoother and calmer and more efficient, and there was like a lot less headaches once he left. And that's I just thought about him, as this disruptive force among everybody. And like I said, once he left, we did more business. Everybody was less stressed out, and nobody was going around and talking about the different things and wasting time, over analyzing things.
Yeah, so basically he was a disruptor. He was the disruptor, and sometimes we have that in different situations, like in our ward or our car callings, in our families. Sometimes we have disruptors. So, okay, let's see. Let's go on. Let's see. What are the broad application of these principles? Like, how can they help us in our individual strengths? Well, actually, what are some other ways that these things can help us as we work as teams? Do you guys have any thoughts or ideas on how it could help you in your life?
Well, if we can identify those behaviors of waste, I guess, like one of the things we're doing at work now is we're identifying waste behaviors. So the actions that a lot of our people are doing that are wasting or against efficiency, if you identify those and avoid those from happening, then you can improve efficiency. So I guess in a perspective, in a team, for example, if you avoid those waste behaviors or negative behaviors in a group, it will improve your performance.
I think also, if you look at what the really good team did, is they complemented each other. They they complemented the team, and I think it's important to not just avoid the things that are disruptive, but to do the things that bring people together as a team. To complement and to talk about things. If you ever give criticism, you don't give it specifically to one person, especially in front of a group.
Yeah.
So if there's criticisms, then you just talk about that. Hey, as a group, we didn't do so well as this. But we don't call out, Mark or Sam or say, hey, man, you guys didn't do this or that. That kills morale. So it's just important that you praise individually. If you criticize, you just, it's just broadly, not individualistic.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about this week's discussion board about humility, and if you look in this case study, the JV team they decided that they were going to go and have the psychologist, and they were willing to have that group counseling and help, and the varsity team thought they were too good for it, and they decided against it. So humility really helped the JV team to move forward and also to have them be in sync with each other. So I think humility, like we talked about this week in our discussion board, really did help them in this case. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. So one of the things that I noticed this week, I've been kind of looking forward to our 360 that we have to submit. And so if you guys need to, while you're still thinking about it, write down information on your different group members, because you'll have to rate them in this 360, and you're going to have to write up all of this that we did tonight and just write specific answers to questions. So I've already started doing it, and it's taken me a while to do it, so I just want to let you guys know to kind of have a heads up on that. And let's see. Thank you so much for being patient. I'm so sorry. I meant to send the sign up for 9 o'clock because I normally get off at 7, and then when David said it was at 8 8 o'clock, I was like, oh my gosh, I sent the wrong time. And then I've been having a really time getting on Hangouts, but I'm glad that we were all able to work it out. I really appreciate your patience with that. And we need to talk about who is the group leader next week.
Does somebody have the sheet?
It's Mark.
I am.
Mark, you just need to go ahead and email the professor, let him know that you're going to be the group leader next week. Are we going to do the same time, 9 o'clock on, well, it's 8 o'clock. Wait.
8 o'clock is time?
You want to do the same time, 9 o'clock on Thursday next week?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Mark's going to get everybody, send out the links and everything. Is there anything else that we need to discuss before we go? I am going to send this recording link to all of you guys so that you can watch the recording over if you need to.
Yeah.
And that will help you when you're writing your 360 discussion.
On the 360, is it something you can start and then finish later, or do you have to finish it all in one?
Yes, I've already started it, and you can save it, and then you can go back in and edit and make more notes. Because I wasn't able to finish the whole thing because we hadn't finished this discussion, and so I just went in and started filling out what I could do, and I'm going to go back in tonight and finish the rest of it.
Okay.
But I'll send this link out to all of you, so you have the link and you can re-watch the recording if you need to.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm gonna send a test to somebody if they'll volunteer.
Yeah, I'll volunteer.
Okay, David. Thanks.
Angie, what's your cell phone number so we can communicate in time sensitive?
714.
Okay.
469 2394.
Okay.
Where do you live, Angie?
Anaheim.
Anaheim. Okay.
Oh wow, you're close.
Where are you?
I'm in Hemet.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is really cool.
Mark's there too. Mark's around you guys too.
Yeah.
Emily, what's your cell phone number? I didn't get it before.
It's 951-623-0685.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Okay, I'll send the link out to all of you guys. Is there any other questions that you have?
Nope.
Do you guys want to have a closing prayer?
Sure.
Okay. Who will give the closing prayer?
I'll do it.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Mark.
Our Heavenly Father, we give Thee thanks for all that Thou has provided for us, and we give Thee thanks for the education that we're able to obtain through BYU Idaho and the online program. We thank Thee for the time that we have spent together as a group and that have been able to discuss this case study. We ask that Thou would grant us all a good rest of the evening, that we may be able to use our time wisely and to get the rest that we need, that we may work and study further tomorrow and the next day. And we ask that Thou would keep all in this group safe and all in the safe, so that we'll be able to meet again next week. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
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 Thank you.
Hey, Mark.
Thank you all.
Mark?
Yes.
Hey, I need to run to FedEx. You want to send me a link in about 35 minutes and we'll test it out?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Bye,
See you guys. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.